What's going on, you guys? It is Corbin Stuckey of Pixel Talk here, and I'm here to give you my review of WandaVision, the latest MCU show that is readily available on Disney+. I've been watching this for the past 9 weeks, been having many conversations with my friends regarding the show, and I just wanted to give you my review on it. I love Marvel, as you can see right here. Lots of Marvel stuff. I should probably sell that stuff. Every time when I bring a girl over, they're like, ooh, he collects Funko Pops. But yeah, I'm actually going to be talking about spoilers in this video because the show is just, I don't even know how to really approach this without talking about spoilers, so just wanted to warn you guys. And if you haven't watched the show, go ahead and watch it because it's great. I really liked it. So WandaVision takes place directly after the events of Avengers Endgame and stars Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff and Paul Bettany as the Vision. And the show starts off very weirdly. It's not your typical MCU show. It starts off as a 50s sitcom, and it plays off like that throughout the first 2 episodes. And the show is very centered around this sitcom format. You watch the first 2 episodes for a little bit, and you're kind of accepting of this fact that it's just a sitcom format. It kind of forces you to. You are still left in wonder, like, what is going on? Like, why is it like this? And as the show progresses, you start to kind of figure out what's going on, and you start to notice little things that are behind the scenes and within character dialogue that doesn't really match what is presented in the first place. And that's something that I really enjoyed about the show, was that there's just something odd happening, and it's really unsettling at first because you're just kind of out in the loop. And as the show progresses, you start to realize what's actually going on here, and it's super interesting. So the show is based on a comic book series called House of M, where Wanda Maximoff completely loses her mind after the events of Avengers Disassembled, where she basically disbands all the Avengers because she is responsible for this catastrophic event at Avengers Mansion. So she basically creates this false reality where she creates this false marriage with Vision, brings him back to life, and they even have children. And this show depicts that pretty well for the most part. I really enjoyed that aspect where you're kind of wondering, like, what's going on? Is all of this real? But then as the show progresses, it's not. It's all in her head. She's lost her mind. She's going through grief after the events of Avengers Infinity War. And I really liked how the show didn't downplay that. I liked how there wasn't even really a happy ending at the show. It was very bittersweet. So I really liked that about it. And the show overall is really well done. As this organization called SWORD is looking into why this entire town has disappeared, or why there's this hex void around this little town, you see what they're witnessing on these old TVs is that there is this broadcast that is happening because Wanda is displaying it with her false reality, mind bending. It's really weird. And I really liked how you kind of saw that there was people outside of this place viewing this, and they're like wondering, like, how is she doing this? Like, she's created an entire sitcom. And I also like the fact that each time that they get closer to getting to reach Wanda Maximoff, she completely shifts the reality and turns it into this different sitcom style, which is something I have to commend the show as well, is that Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany, I feel as though, have a lot of range in this. They're able to convey these different sorts of sitcoms from these different time periods. Examples including The Dick Van Dyke Show, I Love Lucy, The Brady Bunch. It was kind of nostalgic, actually. I liked how the show pays tribute to a lot of other television shows and paying tribute to what happened before this new age of Disney+. So I thought it was very cool and nostalgic. And I also loved how the show has like this Truman Show vibe to it, because Vision is not aware of what's going on in the show. He's completely unaware of what is happening, because this is actually not the Vision that we've seen in Age of Ultron, Civil War, Infinity War, etc. This is a fabricated person that was made by Wanda Maximoff due to her grief. And I liked how they acknowledged that. I liked how it wasn't just like, oh, she found the Mind Stone and rebuilt him. I was very happy that it wasn't going in that direction. I liked the fact that this was just a fake carbon copy that she made with her mind. I liked how her children were also false in this show. We're going to get into that as well. I definitely love the show, but there's been a few complaints as to some of the characters that have been appearing on the show and what it could possibly be leading to in terms of like the future of Marvel films, I understand the complaints, but in terms of the show overall, I loved what they did and what they were trying to convey. In terms of the performances, I absolutely loved Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany in this show. I think it really added on to the characters' relationship that they have, because in Infinity War, they're just all of a sudden together. They've had interactions in the past, and a little bit in Age of Ultron, a lot in Civil War, but then all of a sudden, they're just together in Infinity War, and it kind of just makes you as the audience have to accept that. It's kind of very similar to Black Widow being together with Hulk in Age of Ultron. It's just like, oh, this is a thing now. But I like how the show just kind of basically adds more depth to that relationship, because now there is a reference sheet to what they've experienced and how their marriage is and how their relationship is. So I really appreciate about the show, because it adds on to that relationship that was introduced in Infinity War and how these two beings just love each other. I also loved the people that were outside of the Hex that were looking into this phenomenon. Jimmy Woo, like, best character development in the MCU. That card trick, man. Love it. I also liked Monica Rambeau in the show. I thought it was a cool way to introduce her into the MCU and just have her character in a different property besides Captain Marvel, and how she's an adult in this show and how she's dealing with the grief of her mother. That episode in episode 4 where she just comes back from the snap and she's seeing all this chaos happen. I actually really liked that, because it showcased that it wasn't just like this happy event where everybody was back to life. Like, you're going to have like chaos happen where people are running about because you have all the half of the population coming back. So I liked how it was chaotic. And I liked how her subplot about grieving her mother tied into grief with Wanda Maximoff in this, and how she also gained her powers. I thought that was visually pleasing, how she got her powers, like entering back and forth into this hex. Like, yay, another Captain Marvel. That's going to be interesting. Also, Darcy from Thor is in this. Thought she was cool. I hated Darcy in the Thor movies. I was actually really glad that she wasn't in Thor Ragnarok, but I actually liked her in this. You know why? Because she contributed to, like, figuring out what's going on. She actually had stuff to do. She wasn't just like a sidekick saying, like, pop culture Facebook stuff. She was actually contributing to figuring out, like, why this was occurring and providing information to, you know, everyone looking into this. So I really appreciated that. Catherine Hahn as Agnes, really enjoyed her as well. Like I said, as these time periods keep progressing, she progresses with the time itself, and I love her as the nosy neighbor, and the reveal of her being Agatha Harkness. I like the song. I thought it was catchy. It was Agatha all along. And obviously, I've got to talk about this. Evan Peters as Pietro, as Quicksilver. That was interesting. I don't really know what to think of that. I think that's actually been like the main complaint about the series finale. Let's talk about that, because I feel like that's just going to be a section on its own in this video. I liked how that was a little nod, like, oh hey, like, we now own Fox, the X-Men rights. What can we do with this? Oh yeah, let's have Evan Peters like play a recasted Pietro. And, you know, at first it's like you're wondering, like, what's going on? Like, did Agatha get like a Quicksilver from the Fox universe and bring him into here because she needed someone as equally as fast as the Pietro from this MCU to play the character in the show? No, it's just a random guy. It's just a random guy named Ralph Boner. Yeah, I can see why people were kind of disappointed, actually. I mean, it was a cool nod. It was definitely just... I think it was just like an Easter egg that they wanted to implement into the show, and then they didn't realize how much people would really look into this certain Easter egg and think like, oh my god, are the X-Men films merging with the MCU? Are we going to see Hugh Jackman in the future? Are we going to see James McAvoy as Professor X? Is this happening? No, it's just... they're just being playful. And I understand why people were very upset about that. I really do. There's been... It's kind of like one of those things like where in Iron Man 3, they thought they were getting the Mandarin, and then they didn't get the Mandarin. A more recent event was like when in Spider-Man Far From Home, where they thought Mysterio was from a different universe, and they're setting up like this multiverse thing, but in reality, he was just a guy in their universe who was mad at Tony Stark, so he wanted to steal his glasses. You know what I mean? Like, it's just... It's stuff that they're presenting, like these ideas, like these little hints that like we're going to be getting these multiverse kind of films, which I think we definitely are soon, but it's not going to be within this time frame, not in WandaVision at least, and they just turn out to be Easter eggs. I don't know. It was cool seeing Evan Peters. I liked seeing him as Quicksilver in the MCU. I thought it was really cool. I just wish that there was more to that and he just wasn't like a random person. I'm not totally butthurt by it, but I understand why people are upset. Like, you teased the crap out of people like Marvel. However, little argument I want to state there, like, you know, this show, there have been so many speculations and theories like regarding this show over the past 9 weeks, and I feel as though when you speculate so much and you have these high expectations, you're going to be disappointed. And what you need to really do is that you need to watch the show for what it is and see what's going on the screen and evaluate yourself if the show is good. And I did that, and I really enjoyed the show, and I was not disappointed, especially with the ending, where she finds out that these people that she has under her control, Wanda, they're suffering. So she has to make the decision to stopping this false reality, but in doing so, she is killing this vision that she's made out of her grief and the 2 boys that they've had within this reality. So I liked how the show references that, okay, these people aren't real. These are made from her mind. So I really appreciated that, and I really appreciated how it wasn't just like, oh, it's going to be a happy ending. She's going to like have these kids on her... Another thing, too, these kids look like members of the Young Avengers, and it leaves you to believe that, like, oh, they're going to have a Young Avengers team later on in the MCU. And then, all of a sudden, like, they're not real. So it's like, okay, if you're going to do that, then why have them look like the Young Avengers in the first place? Why couldn't you just have them look like kids? Like, there's a lot of teasing in this show. That's what I would say is the main issue in terms of, like, the big Marvel fans, is that there's just things in here, like little seeds that make you think like, oh, there's something bigger happening here than just like WandaVision. And then they don't play out. And then you start to realize, I should have just been watching this for Wanda Maximoff and Vision themselves. And I'm okay with that to a certain degree, but I'm like, okay, it would have been cool to see Young Avengers like in the future. It would have been cool to see like the X-Men come into the MCU, but it was all just for fun. They're just Easter eggs. But in terms of like the show itself, I really enjoyed the ending, and I actually kind of teared up a little bit, especially the part where Vision turns on the light and he says, oh, I hear it's like bad luck to say goodbye in the dark. And she's like, no, you didn't. And he's like, oh no, I just wanted to see that stuff right there. I was like, that is so romantic. And that's what I will say about the show. It's incredibly romantic. I really appreciated that aspect. And like I said, it adds on to the relationship that's formed in Infinity War, and it adds more depth to that. So I like that a lot. And everybody has like their favorite episode in terms of WandaVision, in terms of like time periods and stuff like that. Obviously, the last 2 episodes were really good. But in terms of like time period wise episodes, I probably liked episode 7 a lot, because I grew up during middle to high school watching Modern Family, and I loved how the show was filmed, and knowing that they were paying tribute to that show meant a lot to me, because I loved watching Modern Family with my family while going to school. And Elizabeth Olsen plays Claire so well in the show. It's uncanny. Like, it's very well done, and I really appreciated that. And also, you know what I like about this episode in particular? It's like, when she doesn't have a hold on her powers and, like, the kids are playing video games. Those are GameCube controllers. Yeah, the GameCube deserves respect. Super Mario Sunshine. Also, the costume. The costume looks amazing. I can't wait to see it in the future. I'm so excited for Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Hopefully the multiverse isn't like a Easter egg. Hopefully there's actually going to be a multiverse. I think so. Like, they can't just do something like that. Overall, guys, in terms of the show itself, I really liked it. I would not say that it's my favorite MCU property thus far. I would say that it's the most interesting and different thing in the MCU. This will be referenced for a very long time as to what Marvel does differently from their past properties. I think this is a good start for Phase 4, for sure, because it really adds on to the character of Wanda Maximoff being like the Scarlet Witch. And that's one of the things I really do like about the show, is that even though you do feel sorry for Wanda in this, she is kind of the villain, because she's making these people suffer for her own happiness. So I really appreciated that the show acknowledges that, and it doesn't make you pity her so much, but only enough, and how she could possibly be a villain in the future. I can't wait to see what that plays like in possibly Doctor Strange 2, so I look forward to that, really. So yes, guys, that was my review to WandaVision. Comment down below what you thought of the series, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, what you didn't like about it. Like this video, share it, and please subscribe to Pixel Talk if you haven't yet for more movie reviews, TV show reviews, gaming content, game reviews, and so on. Thank you guys so much. I am Corbin Stuckey, and this is Pixel Talk.